Good morning. The light of Christ is shining here at my Christian place. Within me, myself. Aren't I the lucky one, eh? To live in a world like this. What a lovely world it is. Firelit, fresh, clean drinking water, electricity, gas, obviously, food, etc. Peaceful. The last three films were short little films saying, I live in a town called Alnwick in Northumbria, north-eastern corner of England. This is not the Gaza Strip. Well, as the days pass, I take an interest in the world in which I live, and I begin to understand more clearly what's really going on, as it were. So, Abraham. The three Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity and Muslim. The story is there in Genesis. Ishmael came first, Hagar's son, the servant lady to Abraham's wife, Sarai or Sarah. And then, in their old age, God granted them a son was in marriage, Isaac, and on the story goes. So, if we scroll on to now, here and now today, what is going on in the Middle East is genocide, perpetrated directly by Israel, the state of Israel, but funded and armed by America, primarily, assisted by Britain with surveillance, aeroplanes, and I don't know, in other ways probably. So the West, the Christian West, is liable under international law, which is the best the world's been able to come up with, given the First and Second World Wars, just as a for instance, never mind all the other wars. They're designated as genocide. What's going on now is genocide. And it's a plan. It's not just something that popped up out of nowhere. Zionism. Now, Rabbi Dovid, D-O-V-I-D, Weiss, W-E-I-S-S, who's a rabbi with the curls and the hat and everything, a proper Jewish, Orthodox rabbi, reminds us, it's a very small sort of part of Judaism, but he's a rabbi, he's not stupid, he studied the Torah, the first 5 books in the Bible, you know, he knows his stuff. Quite clearly that God's chosen people, the Israelites, the Jews, the Hebrews, shall not return to the Holy Land after the diaspora until the second coming of Christ. So the diaspora actually started, I've just checked it now, well before Christ came. 587 was the date, I think I've got it right. But certainly 70 Christian era, and then I think 137, there was another revolt and stuff. But Jerusalem was sacked and the Jews were chased out around the world. That seemingly was God's plan for his chosen people. These are the words of Simeon when he saw Christ at the temple. Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace, for mine eyes have seen thy salvation. Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace, for mine eyes have seen thy salvation, which you have provided. Oh, bother, I've forgotten the second half. I know it so well. It's Simeon at the temple. Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace, for mine eyes have seen thy salvation. Lord, now lettest. Right, for whatever reason, my brain is blocking the second half of this. But Simeon saw Christ at the temple. A light for revelation to the Gentiles and for the glory of thy people, Israel. So I'm a Christian, I'm a Goy, I'm a European, British actually, not European. For what it's worth, I'm British. Sniff. The English and the French have never got on. Moi, je parle français couramment, madame. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec ça? J'aime bien les Français, alors. Mes amis, quoi? Les Français. So the point of this ramble is, I'm alive here in this world. I'm a man of 68 years old, therefore not child. Genocide is going on now with intent from the founding of Israel in 1948, and then the Nakba, clearing out of Palestinians, etc. The intent now still by Jewish leaders, secular, is by any means just to wipe out the Palestinians, the predominantly Muslim Palestinians. Now, if we go back to Abraham, see, why did God arrange matters in that manner? That his wife Sarai could not have a child. So Abraham slept with Hagar. You can look it up, it's Genesis chapter 16. And along came Ishmael. The Muslims sort of look back to Muhammad, who's about 600 and something AD, Anno Domini after Christ, Christian era, whatever, how you say it. So along came Ishmael. There were 12 tribes also from Ishmael. There were 12 tribes from Isaac. So this is God's plan. Okay, it doesn't take a genius to work this stuff out. The Bible's there. I've got my old Bible. It's the New International Version. It's a good translation, a very good translation. So what's the point of all this ramble of mine? There is monstrous suffering going on in the world, all around the world, now, many other places, not just the Middle East, obviously. Right. We are human beings. I am a human being. What a surprise. Now, any normal, ordinary human being basically can see the difference between right and wrong, and, just that. Anyone and everyone I've spoken to recently here, I live in Northumbria, in the northeastern corner of England, and without no exception, anyone I speak to people, yes, it's awful, it's wrong, it's genocide. The way to whatever the figure is, 0.3 million human beings have been treated. I mean, I check the weather at Jerusalem, through my weather app. Babies have died in the cold, directly caused by their circumstances, etc. 18,000 children killed in the Gaza Strip. I believe that's the current figure. 18,000 children. The BBC is suppressing this film because the child, a young man actually, it's bar mitzvah age, 13, is narrating it or something, but he's from a Hamas background or something. What about Northern Ireland? For me, as a British person, as it were, with a British passport, and Ireland and the suppression of the Irish by the British, the English, etc., going back to the 1100s at least. The IRA and all of that. They're freedom fighters. If you're sitting in an open prison in Gaza for decades, you're going to break out. It's inevitable. It's obvious. And now, this is quite an interesting bit, leading us to Armageddon, which is that the current incumbent of the presidency of the United States of America thinks this is absolutely fine. Ethnic cleansing, whack them into somewhere else. Anywhere else will do. Whack in some new people. Ha ha. He'll be gone soon. I mean, Hitler thought Germany was going to reign over the world for 1,000 years. How ridiculous. But Germans went along with him. So, to all those Americans out there, anyone who possibly might watch this to the later end of this ramble of mine, quite frankly, history will judge you as the same as the Germans who went with Hitler. With the current incumbent of the presidency of the United States of America. Truly. I can go to my kitchen, I can turn on the tap, I get fresh, clean, drinking water. They don't. Now, I'm a Christian, so change what you can, and then the other stuff you've got to let go. But I do have to recognize that I live here in relative to what's going on, and they're going for the West Bank. Yes, they just kicked out 40,000 people in Jenin and places. I don't know these places. I don't know anything about it, other than the news. I have been to the Holy Land, Israel. Yes, I think 3 times, actually. There are 2 commandments. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. Amen. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Amen. Just ask old Socrates over there. See what he thinks. Cheerio!